This session is for everyone and anyone who wants to create simple and effective apps, be it for your purpose or for the marketplace. So what exactly is Forge? Forge, as you all know, is an app development platform designed by Atlassian. It can revolutionize how Atlassian cloud products can be customized, extended, and integrated. Forge is great for building many types of apps, or Atlassian cloud apps specifically, both for marketplace and for use within private organizations. What does a developer look for when they develop an app? Basically, they look for ease of app development and ease of debugging. Forge makes sure that the app development process is easy. Let me just walk you through the key features of the app. First is you build the app, not the infrastructure. So you can write an app in minutes while the platform takes care of the security, compute, and storage. Its maintenance is simplified. It keeps the apps and customizations up to date without the heavy lifting. It's a complete development toolkit. From testing to deploying, the FAST platform has DevOps requirements covered. You can also achieve more with its extensibility. That is, you can run apps in Jira and Confluence once you develop it. Also, you can share your apps quickly and easily. Use the developer console to distribute your apps to users. So how do you know if Forge is the right one for you? One, your app needs to touch sensitive customer data. That is, Forge Atlassian hosted compute and storage keeps the customer data within the boundaries of the Atlassian cloud, lowering the security risk. Or two, you want to spin up a small utility app or quickly customize a workflow. So Forge's serverless functions and easy to use developer tooling makes it possible to turn an idea into an app in just a few hours. Or you want to build a marketplace app with low maintenance overhead. Forge's reliable and stable platform takes the worry and effort out of maintaining app infrastructure. While Forge is ready for many apps, there are some particular use cases that Forge doesn't support. This is purely because the platform is under active development and the team is releasing new capabilities as they build it. So now arises the doubt in our minds. Should we use Forge or Connect? Well, it definitely depends on what your use case is and if it is supported by Forge. If so, then you can surely go ahead and create it on Forge. But just in case you have any more doubts, let me just do a small comparison between Connect and Forge to clear your doubts. For those who are new to the Atlassian Developer SDK, Connect is the existing cloud app development platform. It has been there since 2014. Now, let's look at the main differences between Connect and Forge. Forge is in GA, that is general availability, and moved out of beta last year. The main difference is that Forge is Atlassian serverless platform that differs from Connect with this exact feature. No need to have our infrastructure for building Atlassian apps. In terms of UI extensibility, Atlassian provides UI components for rapid development. Forge supports custom UI apart from the UI kit supplied by the Forge platform. For Connect, you can use a React component from Atlas for development to conform with the ADG guidelines. For Connect, authentication needs to be taken care of by using JWT, but for Forge, auth is handled by the utility functions such as Jira, as user, etc. More on the Connect versus Forge. Connect framework allows you to serve and host the app code. This gives you the flexibility to use any language for your app server code. The exciting thing about Forge is that it provides a sandbox environment for development and production. In Connect, the entire code base is served from the app servers hosted by the marketplace partners with the UI loaded as the iframes by the platform. On the other hand, Forge takes care of the entire hosting with the JavaScript, CSS, and HTML code bundled when you run the forge deploy command and serve from the Atlassian hosted CDN. Maintaining the highest security level is Forge's task. Now, Atlassian takes care of security issues. The control permission in the app list. Unlike Connect app manifest, where the scope is limited to read, write, admin, and act as user. Will Forge displace Connect? Atlassian's position is clear. Connect is not going anywhere. Connect allows you to achieve use cases which are currently not possible by Forge. Both tools are suitable for particular add-on needs. In my opinion, Forge will never replace Connect, but they will coexist. Now, let's have a Forge architecture. The Forge architecture is designed to sandbox apps to control the app execution. There are two main parts to this user interface security. User interface security and the app runtime. The user interface security. Using custom UI, you can define your own user interface using static resources such as HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and images. The Forge platform hosts your static resources, enabling you to display your custom UI on Atlassian products. Because the custom UI apps are hosted by Atlassian, these apps can enforce sandboxing of the static resources that are run in the user's browser. This is done by using content security policy, that is CSP headers, that provide protection against common security vulnerabilities such as XSS and data injection. With the UI kit, you will be using a declarative UI to build your user interface where apps implement functions to compose UI kit components. The functions run on the server side. The UI kit components are already provided by Forge, so you don't need to design and create them, and they're always up to the Atlassian design standards. Sandboxing UI functions in the UI kit makes the rendered UI secure, as no app code executes in the browser. This sandboxing also makes use of the security and isolation mechanisms that are used by the Forge backend infrastructure. Now, the app runtime. Controlling the app runtime is critical to security. The Forge runtime sandboxes the apps from the environment in which they execute. By running apps in isolated environments, the platform limits what apps can do. For example, apps cannot accidentally leak customer data across sites. Apps also cannot interfere with or modify other running apps. Now, let me just explain this diagram right here. So the app bundle is the packaged app code. The app isolates are instantiated per request. Isolates provide per request isolation within a single app. The app isolate is a V8 JavaScript isolate. The node runtime. Forge apps run in AWS as Lambdas. AWS Lambdas provide per app isolation. The Forge AWS account. The Forge platform runs Lambdas using multiple AWS accounts to distribute the load. All of these accounts are separated from the other Atlassian services, and using these dedicated accounts to run apps enables Forge to minimize the privileges. This means that if an app escapes its sandbox due to vulnerability, then running it in a less privileged account limits what it can do. So the Forge architecture, we'll just continue with it. Under the hoods, Forge uses AWS Lambda to run the Forge application. The fast architecture frees the developer from managing and hosting the application. Atlassian has built a custom execution environment on top of AWS Lambda to control the access permissions. The application runs within the runtime, which is a Node Express web server, which is running under the hood. The application can make invocations to the Forge services using the APIs provided by the Forge SDK. The application can communicate with the external services by using the API calls, which can be invoked using the bridge or resolver. Note that the endpoints need to be whitelisted in the application manifest. Jira, Confluence, and lifecycle events are generated by user activity in the products. Your app can subscribe to one or more events via the manifest.yml file. You can also use schedule triggers to invoke your app on a periodic basis. The Forge CLI is a command line interface for building and deploying Forge apps, either to staging or the development or even the production environment. The Forge CLI offers various debugging and development utilities, such as the Forge tunnel to ease and speed up app debugging and testing. Now, how do you build a Forge app? The first step would be to install the CLI using the command given here. Next, you do a Forge login using the Forge login command. Once it's logged in using your Atlassian email ID and an Atlassian API token given, next you run the Forge create command to create a Forge app using the existing templates provided by Forge. Once we create the skeleton structure, we can deploy the code and install it on our Atlassian site using the Forge deploy and Forge install respectively. Once it has been deployed, you can create active changes to the code and you can either deploy it again or you can use the Forge tunnel shown here so that you can avoid the redeployment. Now, let me show you with an example. As a part of Code's 2021, we chose an app called Community Lens. It is an app that fetches user posts, most viewed and most replied topics from Atlassian user community. So why did we build it? We as developers want to monitor the Atlassian user community for queries related to our apps. Sometimes some queries get missed. This app helps to keep track of the queries and topics. It also helps us to contribute as community leaders. For checking the source code, we have published it in the marketplace as an open source app. Here we shall go through the Community Lens app, which had won the Coach's Customer Choice Award. It basically presents posts as multiple widgets in a dashboard so that you don't have to keep playing around with the filters every time. With Community Lens, we can now track keywords of our apps and also keep track of support questions raised in the community. I'll just show you the structure. So it consists of a manifest.yml file, which is the most important part of a Forge app. Within the manifest, the modules dictionary, it defines the functions that contain your app's logic and the different modules your app uses to integrate the Atlassian products. Here, in this example, I've made use of the Confluence Space Page module. And since this app requires to show the information in tables, there exists filters which you can configure using the settings. I have made use of the custom UI for which a resolver is required. Thus, we are required to mention the resolver as a function. The function module is where the app's behavior is defined. Other modules specify the function module that defines the actions to take. The resource section of your manifest file controls the configuration of the static assets that you want to display in your app. The permission section of the manifest.yml file controls your app's access to remote resources. Here, we have also mentioned an external backend fetch to the
Aarthi, there seems to be some connectivity issue. Can you just maybe it'd be good to turn off your video and proceed. We'll just give a minute for Aarthi to reconnect. So Aarthi, yeah, Aarthi is back. Just make sure you are unmuted and reshare your screen so that we can proceed ahead with the presentation.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Hey, no issues. Yeah, we can see your screen. You can get started.
Okay, so this is a file organization. We have the index.js in the source directory, which basically consists of the forge code. I made use of the storage and the resolver, which are the main things when you use a custom UI. Because in custom UI, the UI resides in the static part, which is the static part. This static part is basically our normal React, JS, CSS, and HTML code. So whatever it is that you want to display on the screen without using our Forge UI kit, you'll use it on the static part. Now, all API calls are made from the Forge side, which means there needs to be a communication between both the static and the Forge runtime. So this gap is filled using the Forge bridge, which I have used in one of the components here, which is the settings component. So the Forge bridge, using this invoke command, we can basically invoke whichever is the resolver that you have set. So here I've defined a resolver, get settings. And in my static part, I have invoked the get settings so that whatever is the response that I get from the API call or the API call, it is being returned. And I can use it as per my own discretion. Now, in this example, I've also made use of LIQL, which is Lithium Query Language queries, to get the data required for the table. Now, I'll just show you how I deploy this app. So this is the directory where I have got my the Forge code, which is a SRC directory, and the static, which contains my React and HTML and CSS. So I've already built the static folder. So I'll just go ahead and do the Forge deploy due to lack of time. So first step is to do the Forge deploy. Meanwhile, I will just show you the different Forge commands present. So we've got a list of Forge commands. Like we can use to create skeleton structures, then deploy, which I've just used, which I'll be showing you in some time. Then the main commands that we use are the Forge deploy, the Forge install, the Forge lint. Then initially we use the login, and once you want to log out, you can use the log out. Then you can use logs command if you want to get the logs, which is basically all those console logs that you put in the Forge part of the app, you can basically see it on the CLI. Then we have the register, which means if you have an app, so you have a Forge app and you want to run it on your instance. First, you do the Forge register so that it creates an app ID. And then you do the deploy and install command. Then we can also use tunnel, which basically helps you to reduce the number of times you do the Forge deploy. Then we also have Forge version, then Forge web triggers, Forge who am I, then help. I hope it, yeah. So now I've completed deploying it. Let me do a Forge install. I am going to install it on Confluence since it's a Confluence space page app and my site URL. So now my app has been deployed and installed in the dev environment in my instance. So since it's a space page app, I'll just take one of my spaces, sample space. And I have my Lens for Atlassian community. So these are basically because the Forge is very much onto the security. So I'll have to give the permissions. Once I've given the permissions, I can use the app. Yes. So this is the community lens. I have a filter here, which basically is set by default for a 2-week update. So whatever has happened in the last 2 weeks, this is a table of mentions. This is a table of most viewed topics, and these are questions with most replies. I can go to settings here and I can change what I want to see. So I'll continue with team 22. And since team 22 has happened, I think during March, let me just change the date filter to say since February. Yeah. So now that I've changed the date filter, I can see there are more queries and questions and all. So this is how the Atlassian community lens works. You can check it out on the marketplace. So now that I've completed this, I'll share my screen again. Yeah. So now that you've seen how to build a Forge app, let's go to the next big question. So as developers, most of us have developed application on the Connect platform. Now that you've come to know about Forge, you might want to migrate it to Forge. There are just a couple of steps which are involved, which is shown in the diagram right here. So the process begins with the stage 0 app, which is a classic Connect app, which is what you're having right now, which is followed by optional but recommended enhancements to your apps, which leads to the stage 4 app, which is fully on Forge. Now, as soon as the stage 0 app is registered on Forge, a manifest file and is recognized as a Forge app since then. Now, even if it hasn't, if it still has its remote compute and storage, it will still be recognized as a Forge app. So from state 1 onwards, an app is considered a Forge app, and every progressive state the app moves into reflects a greater degree of Forge adoption. An app in state 4 is said to be fully forged, meaning the app has moved all storage and compute within the Atlassian cloud, which is a step which may not be feasible for all apps. Now, let me share my experiences about Forge. Since Forge was new and we worked primarily on Connect, I was assigned to go through Forge and its documentation. So I was basically assigned to research on the capabilities of Forge. It started out as small POCs that we had conducted. And when we first had our initial idea to conduct something bigger, we found certain use cases were not supported by Forge. At this point, the developer community was of great help, as a response from the team for each of our questions were pretty quick. And slowly we found out that Forge was rolling out their new releases almost on a bi-weekly basis. Then came the Codeges 2021 competition, which was accepting only Forge apps. And since we had quite some expertise with Forge, we went would not have been complete without the help of Atlassian team, who were actively answering all our queries related to Forge. One such app is the Scrum Standard Manager, which won the second place in the 2021 Atlassian Codeges app competition under the DevOps category. It basically helps you to make the most out of your Scrum ceremonies. Another app which won a prize was the Community Lens, which I showed you in the demo. So although Forge is not full-fledged like Connect, I really hope it evolves as a great platform which can coexist with Connect and make a developer's work much more easier. I hope you guys enjoy the introduction to Forge. There's a lot more which I haven't covered, but given the lack of time, I'll have to end this here. I would like to thank the Atlassian ACE team of Kochi and Mumbai chapters for this opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, so thanks, Aarathi, for the wonderful Forge presentation. I mean, he had a good introduction on how to go about Forge. It's a good step. This presentation is a good step to get an introduction for Forge and to go about with the Forge development. Yeah, so now I open up the floor. If people have any questions, we can have a Q&A. And after that, we'll end the call.
Aarathi, I just have one question here. The session is really good. I really like the way you have explained from scratch. I just want to have question like, is there any way where we can connect a Forged app with our own database? Like we can connect a normal Connect app with our database, right? Is there any way where we can? Connection of Forge app with a custom database.
Yeah, so Sarika, if I may answer that question, because I mean I'm also into Forge.
Okay,
so
yeah.
I mean, yeah. So the what Forge says is like I mean the paradigm is Atlassian wants the entire security to be on their cloud side, right? So they want the compute, they want the storage to be applied within their infrastructure. So that is the main difference between Connect versus Forge.
Okay.
Now, for certain use cases, you would need still, I mean, for very heavy use cases, you would like to have the DB at your site, right? At your premise, so that you can do more compute. Because I mean, the database which currently Forge provides, it's just a key value store, and you can't do really great aggregation, or I mean, compute is not possible in terms
Okay,
of
okay.
the Forge capabilities right now. Maybe in the future, Atlassian might bring up larger databases or maybe a SQL type database, but currently that is not possible.
Okay.
So if you are looking at creating a Forge app which needs to be, I mean, where you need to host your database at your end, you will have to use a connect on Forge kind of architecture, where I mean, the app is registered as a Forge app, but it still remains as a connect app where you're using the connect paradigm, right? Where the database is hosted at your end. It's
Okay.
only the so if Aarthi can show the slide in which she explained the Forge migration from connect to cloud, connect to Forge.
Okay.
Yeah. So Aarthi, can you just share the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Sarika, you are talking about a classic Connect app, which is stage 0, where you have the database hosted at your end, right? And Atlassian recommended architecture is based.
Okay.
The recommended for use case where you want the compute the database at your end.
That
I hope,
database data. Sorry, I think I lost for a while.
Yeah. So I mean, the classic connect, you move to Forge as state 1. So the only difference there is, like, I mean, you still have the connect Atlassian connect or JSON file, and on top of that, what you do is you register that as a Forge app, so that I mean, the marketplace treats it as a Forge related application. But in the backend, it still remains a connect app where you are able to connect to your original backend database.
Okay. That is
So if
new
you have
for me, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have some hybrid architecture for some of our apps in this way, because
Okay.
I mean, Forge is still nascent. It still needs to go a long way in terms of being at par with Connect. So I think it's still, I mean, there's a long way to go. And we also have talked about this particular use cases with Atlassian. So they also admit that. And maybe in the near future, they might add more DB capabilities. But currently, the DB is just a key value store. You just can store some storage data, but nothing more. You can't do very aggressive compute.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So if you have any further doubts, I think we can take it offline.
Sure, Ajay.
Sure. Any other questions from the team, from the Atlassian user community? I'd also like to add here, Sarika basically is running a quiz. Sarika, if you can just
Sure, Ajay. Sure, Ajay. Hi guys. Mumbai community and Delhi AC community is hosting a quiz event. Basically, this quiz event is all about a general quiz plus Atlassian trivia. So if you are interested to join this type of quiz event, we have more 9 rounds that are there. After that, we have a semi-final and quarter-final type of things. So we have I will share the link where you can participate for that. So let me know if you are interested.
Right. Yeah, I know that. I mean, both Sarika and Sajid both are like it's a really innovative step. I mean, something which is happening for the very first time in the Atlassian community, and it has gathered a lot of interest. And I think yesterday you had 2 quizzes in one go, right?
Yes. So this year, I think Atlassian Marketplace is completing 10 years, right? So we celebrated that. So we have we had 2 events. One is on 26th May, and second one is the last yesterday night. Yeah.
Right.
So 2 back-to-back events we have. So we completed overall 7 rounds, Ajay.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
nice, nice,
It is
Sarika,
really
to
going
see.
interesting for us. We are also learning a lot in terms of Atlassian graphics, the energy they put there in developing a small images also. Yeah. So it's going really interesting for
Right,
us.
I closely follow all your posts on LinkedIn, so it's really exciting.
Yes.
And
Thanks.
I remember even Tamanna during one of our calls, she even spoke to Scott to participate.
Yes. I only asked her that Tamanna, please ask because that is only we are sure like in the 1 year it won't happen, but we want exactly after 5 years this should happen. Someone from Atlassian management, someone should join us. So that is our main goal. But we are not thinking this year. Might be for next 2-3 years it will possible.
Right. We also have Manu and Davis. Both are community leaders, and Davis is heading the Dubai chapter. So, Davis, you have to say something. I'll open up the floor. Manu.
Hey, Ajay, I'm outside actually.
All right. Yeah.
That's why I couldn't hear you clearly. Can you repeat?
Yes. No, so I just said like we have a couple of community leaders joining in from other chapters. Just wanted to open up the floor if you have something to say. Else I will close this call.
Yeah, we can have further meetings with other chapters, and we can conduct other events also in upcoming days. We can do it, Ajay.
Sure, man.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So thank you everyone for participating for today's ACE event. And I would like to personally thank Sarika for organizing this joint event with Kochi as well as Mumbai, and as also Davis, who is joining us from Dubai chapter. Thank you. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Ajay.
Thank you
Thank you,
all.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.